Oh, look who disappeared. Look who went ghost. Look who stepped back, stepped out, stepped away, and never looked back. You. You beautiful, dangerous, liberated soul. Welcome to the other side. Or should I say, welcome to their nightmare. Because that's exactly what your absence became. A living, breathing, suffocating nightmare they can't wake up from. And the best part, the most twisted, poetic, ruthless part, they did this to themselves. They pushed. They tested. They played their games. They thought you'd break. They thought you'd beg. They thought you'd come crawling back with apologies dripping from your lips, desperate for their validation, their attention, their crumbs of affection. But you didn't. You didn't flinch. You didn't fold. You walked away. And that silence, oh that silence, it's eating them alive. Let's get something straight right now. Your absence wasn't a tantrum. It wasn't a phase. It wasn't some dramatic exit meant to get their attention. No, your absence was a statement, a declaration, a final, irreversible decision that screamed louder than any words ever could. And what did it say? It said, I don't need you anymore. 5 words. 5 simple, devastating, truth-soaked words that shattered every illusion they had about you because they were convinced. Absolutely convinced that you needed them more than they needed you. They thought they were the sun and you were some desperate little planet orbiting around their warmth. They thought they were irreplaceable. They thought you were weak. They thought you were attached. They thought you were trapped. And when you left, when you vanished without explanation, without drama, without a single backward glance, that's when the terror set in. See, people like them. They don't fear loss when they see you crying. They don't fear loss when you're begging them to stay. They don't fear loss when you're fighting for them. They actually feel powerful in those moments. They feel needed. They feel validated. They feed off your desperation like it's oxygen. But your silence, your absence, your complete and total indifference to their existence, that's not just fear anymore. That's confirmation. Confirmation that they were never as important as they thought they were. Confirmation that you were never as weak as they believed. Confirmation that everything they thought they knew about you was a lie. And that confirmation, it's destroying them from the inside out. Because now they're forced to face the truth they spent so long avoiding, the truth that you don't need them. You never really did. And that realization is so bitter, so heavy, so unbearable that it's haunting every single moment of their lives. Do you know what they're doing right now? Right this second? They're checking obsessively, compulsively. They're scrolling through your socials even though they swore they wouldn't. They're asking mutual friends about you even though they act like they don't care. They're replaying old conversations in their head trying to figure out where it all went wrong. They're staring at their phone, waiting for your name to light up the screen. They're crafting messages they'll never send because their pride won't let them. But their desperation is killing them. They're lying awake at 3 a.m. wondering if you're thinking about them, wondering if you miss them, wondering if you're okay, wondering if you've moved on. And the answer, the cold, brutal, liberating answer, you have. You're not thinking about them. You're not missing them. You're thriving without them. And that truth is a knife twisting deeper every single day. They thought they were teaching you a lesson. They thought their silence would break you. They thought their games would make you desperate. They thought withholding their presence would make you realize your worth was tied to them. But all they did was give you the space to realize something far more dangerous. That your worth was never tied to them at all. That you were whole before them. That you were enough without them. That your peace, your power, your purpose, it didn't need their approval. It didn't need their validation. It didn't need their participation. And the moment you realized that, the moment that truth clicked in your mind like a lock opening, that's when you became untouchable. That's when you became dangerous. That's when you became everything they feared you could be, free. Now, let's talk about what happened next. Because your absence didn't just create fear. It created chaos. It created questions. It created doubt. Suddenly they started analyzing everything. Every interaction, every conversation, every moment they took you for granted, every time they dismissed you, every time they made you feel small, every time they chose someone else over you, every time they played games instead of being real, all of it came rushing back like a flood they couldn't control. And for the first time, maybe the first time ever, they started seeing you clearly. Not as the person they wanted you to be, not as the person they tried to mold you into, but as the person you actually were. Strong, resilient, valuable, irreplaceable. And that vision, it terrified them because they knew they lost it. They knew they destroyed it. They knew they took it for granted. And now it's gone. You know what's beautiful about this? What's absolutely poetic about this whole situation? It's that they can't even be angry at you. They want to be. They want to villainize you. They want to tell themselves and everyone else that you're cold, heartless, cruel for disappearing. But deep down, they know the truth. They know they pushed you away. They know they chose this. They know every warning sign they ignored, every boundary they crossed, every moment they chose their ego over your heart. They know. And that knowledge is suffocating them. Because how do you blame someone for leaving when you're the reason they had to go? How do you play the victim when you were the one holding the knife? How do you seek sympathy when everyone around you can see you created your own emptiness? You can't. So they sit in their silence, drowning in regret, suffocating in realization, haunted by what could have been if only they had chosen differently. Here's the part they didn't calculate, the part they didn't see coming. They thought your absence would be temporary. They thought you'd cool off and come back. They thought this was just another fight, another phase, another storm that would pass and everything would go back to normal. But normal doesn't exist anymore. You rewrote the entire script. You changed the game. You evolved past the person they knew. And now when they try to reach you, if they ever find the courage to try, they'll be reaching for a ghost, a memory, a version of you that doesn't exist anymore. Because you're not the same person who left. You're not the same person who tolerated their nonsense. You're not the same person who bent over backward trying to make them see your value. You've become someone who knows their value. Someone who protects their peace. Someone who refuses to settle for anything less than what they deserve. And that person doesn't have space for them anymore. Let's dive deeper into their psychology right now. Because understanding their torment makes your freedom taste even sweeter. They're experiencing what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. Their mind is at war with itself. One part of them wants to believe you're suffering without them, that you're broken, that you're lonely, that you need them just as much as they need you. But the other part, the part they can't silence, knows the truth, knows you're fine, knows you're better, knows you're thriving. And these two realities cannot coexist peacefully. So their mind is fracturing. They're questioning everything. They're doubting themselves. They're wondering if they made the biggest mistake of their life. And every day that passes without you, every day you don't reach out, every day you live your life as if they never existed, it confirms what they fear most. That they were never as significant as they thought they were. You want to know the most dangerous thing about your absence? It's permanent. It's not a strategy. It's not a game. It's not manipulation. It's genuine indifference born from genuine growth. And they can feel that. They can sense the shift. They can tell this isn't the same person who used to chase them. This isn't the same person who used to fight for their attention. This isn't the same person who valued their opinion above their own. You've transmuted. You've transformed. You've transcended. And that transformation is irreversible because you can't unknow what you now know. You can't unfeel the peace you now feel. You can't return to a version of yourself that accepted less than you deserved. The old you died in that absence. And from those ashes rose someone they can't touch, someone they can't control, someone they can't manipulate, someone who belongs to themselves and themselves alone. Now watch what happens in their social circles. Watch what happens to their image. Because your absence is telling a story they can't control. People notice. People talk. People wonder, where did they go? What happened between you two? Why aren't they around anymore? And they have to answer those questions. They have to explain your absence. And what can they say? The truth. That they took you for granted. That they played games, that they tested you until you walked away. They can't say that without exposing themselves. So they lie. They minimize. They create false narratives. They paint themselves as the victim of your coldness. But here's the problem with lies. They require constant maintenance. They require convincing performances. They require everyone around them to be blind to the truth. But people aren't stupid. People see patterns. People remember how they treated you. And slowly, gradually, inevitably, their narrative falls apart and their reputation crumbles with it. Meanwhile, you're over here building, creating, growing, becoming. You're not stuck in the past replaying old hurts. You're not obsessing over what they're doing. You're not checking their profiles, hoping they're miserable. You're focused on yourself. You're healing. You're elevating. You're discovering parts of yourself that were buried under the weight of that connection. You're learning what you actually like, what you actually want, what you actually need. You're establishing boundaries you never had. You're cultivating relationships that actually nourish you. You're pursuing dreams you put on hold. You're remembering who you were before them and becoming who you were always meant to be. And that energy, that authentic, powerful, liberated energy, it's magnetic. It's attracting opportunities. It's attracting people. It's attracting experiences. It's attracting a life you didn't even know was possible. And they can see it. Even from a distance, they can see you glowing. And it's killing them. Here's what they're learning the hard way. Absence doesn't make the heart grow fonder when the person leaving has genuinely moved on. It just makes the heart grow heavy with regret. They thought your presence was guaranteed. They thought you were a permanent fixture in their life. They thought they could treat you however they wanted and you'd always be there. They thought they had unlimited chances. They thought they had forever to get it right. But forever ended the day you walked away. And now they're stuck with memories they can't change. Conversations they can't redo. Moments they can't get back. Chances they can't reclaim. And all they have is the haunting realization that they destroyed something rare, something real, something they'll spend the rest of their life trying to find again in other people. But they won't, because what you gave them was unique. What you offered them was authentic. What you brought to their life was irreplaceable, and they know it. Let's get brutally honest for a second. You scared them. Your growth scared them. Your peace scared them. Your ability to walk away scared them because it revealed something they didn't want to acknowledge. That you were stronger than they gave you credit for. That you were more independent than they assumed. That you had more self-respect than they expected. They built an entire identity around being needed by you. Around being wanted by you. Around being chosen by you. And when you stop needing, wanting, and choosing them, their entire identity collapsed. Now they're scrambling, trying to find someone else to validate them, trying to recreate what you gave them, trying to fill the void your absence created. But it's not working because other people aren't you. Other connections aren't what you had. Other experiences aren't what you shared. You were once in a lifetime and they gambled with you and they lost. You know what the ultimate power move is? It's not revenge. It's not exposing them. It's not making them hurt the way they made you hurt. The ultimate power move is indifference. Complete, genuine, unbothered indifference. Because revenge means you still care. Exposure means you're still affected. But indifference means they lost their power over you. Indifference means they no longer occupy space in your mind. Indifference means you moved on so completely that they became irrelevant. And that irrelevance is more painful to them than any revenge plot you could concoct. Because being hated means you still evoke emotion. Being forgotten means you never mattered enough to hold on to. And that's where you are now. You've reached a place where they're just another chapter in your story, a lesson learned, a phase completed, a growth catalyst. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, let's talk about what happens when they try to come back, because they will try. Maybe not today, maybe not this month, but eventually curiosity will turn into desperation. Eventually, pride will crumble under the weight of regret. Eventually, they'll reach out. They'll test the waters with a casual message, a random memory, a just checking in. And in that moment, you'll have a choice. You can respond and fall back into old patterns. Or you can honor the journey that brought you here. You can remember the pain that pushed you away. You can respect the healing that happened in their absence. You can protect the peace you fought so hard to build. Because here's the truth. They don't want you to know. People don't change because they miss you. They change because they lose you. And even then, most of the time, the change is temporary. It's a performance designed to get you back. And once they have you again, Once they're comfortable again, the cycle repeats. The games return. The taking for granted resumes, and you're right back where you started. Is that really what you want? Your absence taught you something they never could. It taught you that you're complete on your own. It taught you that happiness doesn't require their participation. It taught you that peace doesn't need their approval. It taught you that love should never feel like a battlefield. It taught you that the right people don't make you question your worth. It taught you that your energy is sacred and should be protected. It taught you that walking away from toxicity isn't weakness, it's self-preservation. It taught you that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is remove yourself from situations that diminish you. It taught you that you are not obligated to stay in spaces that don't honor you. It taught you that closure comes from within, not from them. And most importantly, it taught you that you are enough. You were always enough. You will always be enough with or without them. Here's what they're realizing now. In their quiet moments, in those late night hours when they can't sleep, in those random moments when a song reminds them of you, in those empty spaces where you used to be, they're realizing you were the best thing they had and didn't recognize it. You were the realest connection they experienced and they sabotaged it. You were the person who saw them completely and loved them anyway, and they destroyed that. You were loyal when they were disloyal. You were consistent when they were flaky. You were present when they were distant. You were giving when they were taking. You were fighting when they were quitting. And they let you go. They watched you walk away. They let pride win over love. They let ego win over connection. They let stupidity win over something beautiful. And now they're paying the price. The price of knowing exactly what they lost. The price of living with the consequences of their choices. The price of understanding too late what they had. But here's where it gets interesting. Here's where the tables completely turn. While they're drowning in regret, you're swimming in possibility. While they're stuck in the past, you're building a future. While they're obsessing over what was, you're excited about what's coming. Because your absence didn't just free you from them. It freed you from the version of yourself that accepted less. From the version that ignored red flags, from the version that made excuses for bad behavior, from the version that prioritized someone else's comfort over your own peace. That version is gone. And in its place stands someone unrecognizable, someone powerful, someone whole, someone who learned that the greatest relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. And once you master that, once you truly love yourself, once you truly protect yourself, once you truly prioritize yourself, everything else falls into place. Let's address the elephant in the room. You're not perfect. You made mistakes, too. You had your moments. You weren't always easy. But here's the difference. You were willing to grow. You were willing to communicate. You were willing to work on yourself. You were willing to meet them halfway. You were willing to be vulnerable. You were willing to try. They weren't. They chose comfort over growth. They chose pride over connection. They chose their ego over your heart. They chose temporary satisfaction over lasting commitment. They chose games over authenticity. And those choices, they have consequences. Consequences they're living with right now. Consequences that will follow them into their next relationship and the one after that. Because patterns don't break themselves. And people who don't learn from their mistakes are doomed to repeat them. So, while they're busy cycling through connections trying to find what they lost, you're busy becoming the kind of person who attracts what you deserve. Your absence became your superpower. Your silence became your statement. Your peace became your revenge. And your growth became your legacy. You don't need to prove anything to them anymore. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to justify your decision. You don't need to make them understand. You don't need their validation. You don't need their approval. You don't need their acknowledgement. You don't need anything from them. And that realization, that liberating, powerful, life-changing realization, that's what freedom feels like. That's what self-love looks like. That's what evolution sounds like. And they can hear it. They can feel it. They can see it. Even from the distance you created, they can sense the shift. They can sense the power. They can sense the finality. And it terrifies them because they know. They finally know you meant it. You really don't need them anymore. So, here's what happens next. You keep going. You keep building. You keep growing. You keep protecting your energy. Ah, look who's still standing. Look who's still breathing, still shining, still unbothered while they're out there scrambling, panicking, rewriting their little incantations, wondering why nothing's working anymore. You, my beautifully untouchable friend, you just became the glitch in their entire system. The anomaly they can't explain. The equation that doesn't add up. Because somewhere between their curses and your coffee, between their hexes and your healing, between their rituals and your rise, something absolutely catastrophic happened to their plans. You didn't just survive their witchcraft. You absorbed it, transmuted it, and sent it back wrapped in a bow made of your own unbothered energy. And now they're the ones losing sleep. Now they're the ones feeling the weight. Now they're the ones wondering why everything they threw at you came back to them multiplied, amplified, and absolutely merciless. Let's rewind for a second because this story, this delicious cosmic reversal, it didn't start yesterday. It started the moment they decided you were the problem. The moment they gathered in their little circles, physical or digital, and whispered your name like a curse. The moment they lit their candles, burned their herbs, wrote your name on paper, and genuinely believed they had the power to dim your light. Oh, the audacity, the absolute arrogance. These people, these amateur architects of chaos. They thought they could manipulate energy they don't even understand. They thought they could weaponize forces beyond their comprehension. They thought they could point their intentions at you like a loaded weapon and watch you crumble. But here's what they forgot. Here's the fatal flaw in their entire operation. You can't curse what you can't comprehend. You can't hex what you can't reach. You can't touch someone whose frequency is so far above yours that your negativity can't even find the address. And that's exactly what happened, isn't it? While they were busy plotting, you were busy evolving. While they were casting, you were cleansing. While they were scheming in the shadows, you were standing in your truth. So bright, so unapologetically radiant that their darkness couldn't even get close enough to breathe on you. They sent jealousy, you were grateful. They sent rage, you were at peace. They sent chaos, you built structure. They sent curses. And your aura, your magnificent, untouchable, protected aura, it looked at their spell and laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a worried laugh. A deep knowing cosmic laugh that said, "Is this really all you've got?" Because your energy didn't just deflect their attack. It consumed it. It ate their witchcraft like breakfast and asked for seconds. And now they're sitting in the wreckage of their own intentions, wondering why their lives are falling apart while yours is flourishing. Here's the part they'll never admit. The part that eats them alive in the quiet hours. They knew you were protected. Deep down in that place where intuition whispers truth they refuse to hear. They knew. They saw your light and it terrified them. They saw your peace and it exposed their chaos. They saw your growth and it reminded them of their stagnation. So they didn't attack you because you wronged them. They attacked you because you reflected everything they refused to become. You were the mirror they couldn't shatter, the standard they couldn't meet, the energy they couldn't corrupt. And instead of rising to match your frequency, instead of doing their own inner work, instead of healing their own wounds, they chose the coward's path. They chose manipulation over transformation. They chose witchcraft over work. They chose to tear you down instead of building themselves up. And that decision, that choice to use dark arts against someone walking in light, that's when they sealed their own fate. Because here's what every practitioner of genuine spiritual power knows. The universe doesn't take sides, but it absolutely keeps score. Energy is neutral, but intention creates consequence. When you send negativity towards someone who's genuinely trying to heal, grow, and evolve, when you weaponize spiritual practices against an innocent target, the cosmic backlash isn't punishment. It's physics. It's the natural law of cause and effect. It's the boomerang principle on a metaphysical level. They threw stones at your peace and wondered why their own glass houses shattered. They planted seeds of destruction in your garden and can't understand why their own soil turned toxic. They wished you pain and now they're drowning in it. Not because you cursed them back. Not because you sought revenge, but because the universe has a way of teaching people not to play with fires they can't control. And witchcraft aimed at the protected. That's not fire. That's a nuclear reactor they just cracked open with their bare hands. Let's talk about the signs, the evidence, the undeniable proof that their spell didn't just fail, it backfired spectacularly. You started noticing things, didn't you? Subtle at first, then impossible to ignore. You felt their energy coming. That heavy, suffocating, desperate energy trying to attach itself to your peace. But instead of sinking, you felt lighter. Instead of breaking, you felt stronger. Instead of falling apart, you fell into alignment. Opportunities started appearing out of nowhere. Doors that were closed suddenly swung open. People who never noticed you started seeing you, really seeing you, and treating you like royalty. Your intuition sharpened to the point where you could feel manipulation before it even reached you. Your discernment became surgical, cutting through fake love, false friends, and hidden agendas like a blade through silk. And meanwhile, across town, across the internet, across whatever distance they put between you and them, they're unraveling. Their relationships are imploding, aren't they? You don't even have to check. You can feel it. The same people who join them in their little hexing sessions are now turning on each other, projecting, blaming, fighting over scraps of the same toxic energy they tried to send your way. Their health is declining. Mysterious symptoms the doctors can't explain. exhaustion that sleep won't cure, anxiety that medication won't touch. Their finances are in free fall, money slipping through their fingers like water, opportunities evaporating, investments crashing, plans collapsing. Their reputation. Oh, their precious reputation. It's crumbling. People are starting to see them for who they really are. Not the mask, not the persona, but the truth underneath. And the more they try to hold it together, the faster it falls apart. Because they didn't just attack you, they attacked the principle you represent. They declared war on light itself. And light doesn't fight back. It simply exposes. It reveals. It illuminates everything hiding in the dark, including them. Now, let's get into the mechanics of why this happened, because this isn't magic. This is metaphysics. When someone with genuine inner work, someone who's faced their shadows, healed their wounds, and aligned with their truth, when that person becomes the target of someone operating from ego, envy, and unhealed trauma, there's a frequency mismatch. Think of it like trying to hack a computer with a stone tablet. Their low vibrational attack can't interface with your high vibrational operating system. It doesn't compute. So what happens? The energy they send out, that dense, heavy, malicious energy, it can't penetrate your field, but it also can't just disappear. Energy doesn't vanish, it transforms. It redirects. And in this case, it redirected right back to the sender with compound interest. Every ounce of jealousy they felt toward you came back as self-hatred. Every bit of rage they sent your way came back as inner turmoil. Every curse they whispered became a prison they built for themselves. You became the mirror. And mirrors don't absorb. They reflect. Here's where it gets even more poetic, even more devastatingly perfect. The harder they tried, the worse it got for them. Every candle they burned in your name became a candle lighting up their own darkness. Every name they wrote became a signature on their own karmic contract. Every intention they set against you became a blueprint for their own destruction. They thought they were controlling you, but they were programming their own downfall. They thought they were powerful, but they were powerless against someone who didn't even know they were being attacked, because your protection wasn't something you had to think about. It was woven into your essence. You didn't need to fight because you were never in a battle. You were in a garden growing, blooming, thriving, while they were in a war room strategizing against an enemy who didn't even register them as a threat. And that indifference, that unbothered energy, that's what drove them absolutely insane. Because the opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy. And you were so deeply, peacefully apathetic to their existence that it negated every spell they cast. Let's talk about protection. Real protection. Not the kind you buy in a shop or read in a book, but the kind you earn through integrity. See, people think protection comes from crystals, rituals, prayers. And while those things can help, they're not the source. The source is alignment. When your words match your actions, when your intentions match your energy, when your inner world matches your outer world, you become unhackable. There's no crack for negativity to slip through. No wound for manipulation to exploit, no fear for curses to feed on. You become a fortress, not because you built walls, but because you removed the doors that betrayal used to walk through. You became selective about who you let close, discerning about what energy you entertain. Ruthless about protecting your peace. And that selectivity, that discernment, that ruthlessness, it created a field around you so strong that their witchcraft bounced off it like a pebble off a windshield. They thought they were launching missiles. You didn't even feel a breeze. And now comes the beautiful part. The part they never saw coming. You're not just protected, you're promoted. The same energy they tried to use to bury you is now the fertilizer for your elevation. Every attack became an opportunity. Every curse became a catalyst. Every hex became a stepping stone to heights they'll never reach. You got the job they said you'd never get. You built the life they said you didn't deserve. You found the peace they said was impossible. You became the version of yourself they were terrified you'd become. And they have to watch. Oh, they have to watch because the universe has a wicked sense of irony. The same people who tried to make you invisible now can't look away. The same people who tried to silence you now hear your name everywhere. The same people who tried to stop you now have front row seats to your success. And it's killing them softly, slowly, completely. Not because you're rubbing it in their faces, but because your mere existence. Your thriving, unbothered, blessed existence is proof that they failed. But here's where you need to pay attention because this isn't over yet. And this is where most people make the fatal mistake. They feel the shift. They see the reversal. They recognize that they're winning and the attackers are losing. And then out of misplaced compassion, out of old patterns of people-pleasing, out of some distorted idea of being the bigger person, they open the door again. They offer olive branches to people who came with axes. They give second chances to those who never deserved the first. They let their guard down, thinking the war is over, not realizing the enemy just changed tactics. Don't do that. Don't you dare do that. Your protection isn't a shield you can take off when things feel safe. It's a permanent upgrade to your operating system. These people showed you who they are when they thought you were weak. They revealed their true nature when they believed you were vulnerable. And people like that, people who resort to spiritual manipulation, emotional warfare, and energetic attacks, they don't change. They just get better at hiding. So your job now isn't forgiveness. It's discernment. Your responsibility isn't reconciliation. It's continuation. Keep rising. Keep thriving. Keep protecting your peace like it's the most valuable thing you own. Because it is. Let me tell you what's happening to them right now in real time while you're watching this. They're spiraling. They're checking your social media even though they said they blocked you. They're asking mutual friends about you even though they claimed they didn't care. They're watching your success, your peace, your glow, and it's eating them from the inside out. They're trying new spells, new rituals, new practitioners, throwing money at psychics and energy workers, begging for solutions to a problem they created. And every single attempt fails. Every candle fizzles out. Every ritual backfires. Every spell returns to sender. Because you can't curse someone the universe is actively blessing. You can't hex someone destiny is actively protecting. You can't touch someone who's genuinely aligned with their purpose. They're fighting against cosmic law at this point. And cosmic law doesn't lose. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't compromise. It simply is. And what it is right now in this moment is crystal clear. You're untouchable. They're unraveling. You're ascending. They're descending. You ate their witchcraft and it nourished you. Here's the final piece, the part that seals this entire story. You didn't win because you were stronger in the traditional sense. You didn't win because you fought harder or played dirtier. You won because you refused to play at all. While they were obsessing over you, you were obsessing over your growth. While they were plotting your downfall, you were plotting your next level. While they were studying you were studying yourself, healing, evolving, transforming. You became so focused on your own journey that their attacks couldn't find a target. You became a moving target, always shifting, always growing, always one step ahead of where they thought you were. And that's the secret. That's the cheat code. That's the thing they'll never understand. You can't be cursed when you're constantly becoming. You can't be hexed when you're perpetually evolving. You can't be touched when you're spiritually untouchable. Not because of what you have, but because of who you are. Your aura didn't just eat their spell. Your aura became so refined, so elevated, so powerful that their spell never stood a chance. It was breakfast, a light snack, an appetizer before the main course of your destiny. So, here's what you do now. Here's how you move forward from this moment. You keep walking. You keep rising. You keep building. You don't look back to see if they're watching because you already know they are. You don't waste energy wondering if they've learned their lesson because that's not your responsibility. You don't dim your light to make them comfortable because their comfort was never your concern. You live so fully, so authentically, so unapologetically that your life becomes the only spell you need. Your joy becomes your protection. Your peace becomes your power. Your success becomes your revenge. Not because you sought it, but because you earned it. You become living proof that witchcraft aimed at the innocent doesn't just fail. It creates the very thing it tried to prevent. It creates legends. It creates testimonies. It creates people like you. People who walked through the fire of someone else's hatred and came out forged in unbreakable strength. You're not a victim of their spell. You're the evidence that their spell never worked. You're the walking, talking, thriving proof that light always, always, always defeats darkness. Not by fighting it, but by simply refusing to be dimmed by it. And to them, to those who tried, to those who plotted, to those who genuinely believed they could break you, there's only one thing left to say. Thank you. Thank you for showing me who not to trust. Thank you for teaching me the value of discernment. Thank you for proving that not everyone deserves access to my energy. Thank you for trying to curse me because in doing so, you forced me to discover just how protected I really am. You forced me to tap into strength I didn't know I had. You forced me to build boundaries I should have built years ago. You tried to destroy me and instead you created the most powerful version of me that's ever existed. So thank you genuinely from the bottom of my unbothered, blessed, thriving heart. Thank you for being the villain in my story because every hero needs one. And now that this chapter is over, now that your spell is digested, absorbed, and transformed into fuel for my next level, there's only one question left. What's next? What else you got? Because my aura just ate your best shot like breakfast. And honey, it's still hungry. Class dismissed. Game over. You lost. I won. And we both know you'll spend the rest of your life wondering how someone you underestimated became someone you can't stop thinking about. That's the real curse. Living with the knowledge that you had a chance to support something beautiful and instead you tried to destroy it. Now you get to watch it flourish without you forever. Sleep well. But wait, hold on, because we're not done here. We're not even close to done. See what just happened? What we just walked through? That was the surface level. That was the appetizer. Now, we're about to dig into the main course. The part they don't want you to know. The part that keeps them up at night, refreshing your page, checking your energy, wondering how on earth someone they tried to destroy is not just surviving, but absolutely dominating. Let's talk about the aftermath. The psychological warfare that's happening inside their minds right now while you're out here living your best life. Because here's the thing they didn't calculate. Here's the variable they left out of their little dark equation. When you send evil toward someone and it doesn't work. When you throw your strongest punch and they don't even flinch. When you use every tool in your arsenal and they come out shinier than before. You don't just lose the battle. You lose your mind. You lose your confidence. You lose your grip on reality. Because now you're forced to confront a terrifying possibility. Maybe you're not as powerful as you thought. Maybe your witchcraft is amateur hour. Maybe the person you targeted is operating on a level so far above yours that you look like a child throwing pebbles at a mountain and expecting it to crumble. And that realization, that ego-shattering, identity-crushing realization, it's destroying them from the inside out. They can't sleep anymore because every time they close their eyes, they see your face, your smile, your peace. They can't focus anymore because every time they try to move forward, they're haunted by the question of how you're still standing. They can't enjoy anything anymore because every success you have feels like a personal insult to their failed mission. They've become prisoners of their own jealousy. Inmates in a cell they built with their own hands, serving a life sentence for a crime they committed against themselves. Because that's the secret nobody tells you about dark magic, about curses, about hexes and spells, and all that manipulation disguised as spirituality. It doesn't just fail when it's aimed at the protected. It consumes the sender. It eats them alive. Ah, look at you. Just existing, calm, centered, not reaching, not begging, not performing, not chasing a single soul who didn't choose you first. And it's driving them absolutely insane, isn't it? Because the moment you stopped running after people who were walking away, the moment you stopped explaining yourself to minds already made up, the moment you stopped fighting for space in rooms that locked the door behind you, that's when something shifted. Something they can feel, but can't name. Something that's making them look at their entire life and ask a question they're terrified to answer. Wait, did I ever actually matter to anyone? Or was I just chasing people who were running from me, too? Oh, they notice. Trust me, they notice. You think your silence went undetected? You think your absence didn't leave a hole they're now staring into every single night? They notice that you're not in their comments anymore, not liking their posts, not asking how they're doing, not showing up to events you used to bend over backward to attend, not texting first, not calling, not checking in, not caring. And that last part, that's the one that's keeping them up at night. Because when someone stops chasing you, it's uncomfortable. But when someone stops chasing you and they're clearly fine, thriving even, glowing in a way that makes it obvious they didn't just let go, they leveled up. That's not uncomfortable. That's unbearable. That's a mirror they didn't ask for, but can't stop staring into. You became the question they can't answer. The equation that doesn't add up. The story that doesn't make sense. Because in their mind, you were supposed to crumble. You were supposed to fall apart without them. You were supposed to come crawling back, apologizing for crimes you didn't commit, begging for scraps of attention they were never going to give you anyway. But you didn't. You walked away. No dramatics, no big speech, no burning bridges or scorched earth. You just left quietly, cleanly, completely. And now they're the ones who can't move on. Now they're the ones replaying old conversations. Now they're the ones wondering if they made a mistake. Here's what they'll never admit out loud. Your lack of reaction is the most violent response you could have given them. Because people who play games, people who manipulate, people who use others as emotional supply, they need a reaction. They need you to cry. They need you to beg. They need you to blow up so they can play the victim. They need proof that they still affect you, that they still have power over you, that you're still tangled in the web they spent so long weaving. But you gave them nothing. Silence, space, indifference. And indifference, real indifference, is the only thing narcissists and emotional vampires can't survive. You didn't give them closure. You didn't give them conflict. You didn't give them content. You just became unavailable, unbothered, unmoved. And that is what's eating them alive. They're watching you now more than they ever did when you were around, checking your stories, your posts, your energy. Looking for cracks, looking for proof that you're suffering, looking for anything that confirms the narrative they need to believe that you're broken without them. But every time they look, they see someone who's lighter, freer, stronger, someone who's not performing for an audience. Someone who's not trying to prove anything. Someone who's just living and it's making them spiral. Because if you're fine without them, if you're better without them, then what does that say about the role they played in your life? What does that say about the role anyone plays in theirs? Let's talk about what's really happening here. You stopped chasing and suddenly everyone around you had to confront a terrifying truth. Most people are only close to others because someone is doing the chasing. Most friendships, most relationships, most connections are held together by one person's effort, one person's texts, one person's calls, one person's energy. One person's refusal to let things die. And the moment that person stops, the whole thing collapses. No explosion, no fight, just silence. Empty group chats. Unreturned messages, fading plans, and the person who is being chased is left standing there looking around realizing they don't actually have the relationships they thought they had. They have arrangements, conveniences, audiences, but not connections. You were the glue and you didn't even know it. You were the one making plans. The one reaching out, the one remembering birthdays, checking in, asking questions, showing up, investing, caring. And they got comfortable. They got lazy. They started treating your presence like a subscription service, like you'd just always be there running in the background, available whenever they needed you but never quite worth prioritizing, and you let it happen. Not because you were weak, not because you were desperate, but because you loved deeply. You valued connection. You believed in people. You gave them the benefit of the doubt over and over and over, even when the doubt was screaming at you to walk away. But then, something changed. Maybe it was a moment. Maybe it was 1,000 tiny moments that finally added up. Maybe someone showed you who they really were one too many times, and you finally believed them. Maybe you just got tired. Tired of being the only one trying. Tired of being taken for granted. Tired of pouring into people who wouldn't even spit on you if you were on fire. Whatever it was, you stopped. And the second you stopped chasing, the second you stopped performing, the second you stopped trying to convince people of your worth, everything became clear. Crystal clear. You saw who actually cared. You saw who was only around because you made it easy. You saw who loved you and who loved what you did for them. And here's the part that's breaking them. You didn't even do it to punish them. You didn't stop chasing to teach them a lesson. You didn't withdraw to manipulate them into realizing your value. You stopped because you realized your value. You stopped because you understood that real love, real friendship, real connection doesn't require begging. It doesn't require convincing. It doesn't require you to audition for a role in someone's life every single day. You stopped chasing because you finally understood that the right people don't run. And the ones who do, they were never yours to begin with. Now they're sitting in the wreckage of that realization, and it's destroying them because they're looking around at their life, at their relationships, at the people they're surrounded by, and they're asking themselves the same question you once asked. If I stopped chasing, would anyone come looking for me? And the answer, the one they're too afraid to face, is probably not. Probably they're in the same position you were in. Probably they're the one doing all the work, making all the effort, holding everything together. And if they stopped, if they went silent, if they pulled back, they'd be alone, too. Just like they left you alone. And that's the karma they can't escape. That's the mirror they can't shatter. You're not just living your life anymore. You're a walking, breathing reminder of what's possible when you stop settling, when you stop shrinking, when you stop chasing people who are sprinting away from you. You're proof that there's life after letting go, that there's peace after walking away, that there's power in choosing yourself. And people who are still stuck in the chase, still stuck in the performance, still stuck trying to earn love from people who wouldn't lose sleep if they disappeared, they can't handle that. They can't handle seeing someone break free from the same prison they're still locked in. Because if you could do it, that means they could, too. But they won't, and they know it. And that's what's eating them alive. Every time they see you unbothered, they feel bothered. Every time they see you thriving, they feel like they're dying. Every time they see you smiling without them, laughing without them, glowing without them, they're forced to confront the fact that they were never the source of your light. They were the shadow. And now that you've stepped into the sun, now that you've stopped letting people dim you to make themselves feel brighter, they're stuck in the dark, wondering how they got there, wondering why no one's chasing them, wondering why their phone's so quiet, wondering why the people they took for granted aren't begging for another chance. Let me tell you what they're too proud to say. They miss you. Not the real you. They don't even know the real you. They miss the version of you that made them feel important. The version that laughed at their jokes even when they weren't funny. The version that listened to their problems even when they never asked about yours. The version that showed up even when they didn't. The version that forgave them over and over even when they never apologized. They missed the supply, the attention, the validation, the ego boost, the free therapist, the emotional punching bag. The person they could count on to always be there no matter how badly they treated you. But that version of you is gone, dead, buried, and good riddance. Because that version was a performance. A mask. A role you played because you thought that's what love looked like. You thought if you just tried harder, cared more, gave more, sacrificed more, eventually people would see your worth. Eventually they'd match your energy. Eventually they'd choose you the way you chose them. But they didn't. And they never were going to. Because people don't value what they don't have to work for. People don't appreciate what's always available. People don't chase what's always chasing them. So you stopped. And the world didn't end. The sky didn't fall. You didn't collapse into a heap of loneliness and regret like they predicted. You bloomed. You expanded. You remembered who you were before you started shrinking yourself to fit into their lives. You remembered what it felt like to have standards, boundaries, self-respect. You remembered that your energy is sacred, your time is limited, your love is not a resource to be mined until there's nothing left. And that remembering, that awakening, that reclamation of self, it's the most powerful thing you've ever done. Now they're scrambling. Some of them are breadcrumbing, sending random texts at 2:00 in the morning, liking old photos, dropping cryptic comments, trying to keep one foot in your door without actually stepping inside. Some of them are playing victim, telling mutual friends how much they miss you, how they don't understand what happened, how you just changed. Some of them are trying the jealousy route, posting about their amazing life, their new friends, their new relationships, hoping you'll see it and feel some type of way. And some of them, the really insecure ones, are talking about you, analyzing you, trying to figure out what happened, spreading theories, making you the villain in a story where you were barely even a character. But here's what they all have in common. They're reacting, and you're not. They're obsessed, and you're indifferent. They're stuck, and you're free. Because while they're wasting energy trying to get your attention, trying to make you care, trying to prove something to someone who's already moved on, you're building a life that doesn't include them. You're investing in people who invest in you. You're showing up for people who show up for you. You're creating connections based on reciprocity, respect, and genuine care, not convenience, not history, not obligation, but actual, real, mutual love. And that's what they can't compete with. They can't compete with your peace. They can't compete with your growth. They can't compete with the version of you that finally realized you don't have to beg anyone to see your value. You don't have to audition for anyone's approval. You don't have to prove to anyone you're worth keeping. Because the right people, the real ones, they'll know. They'll see you. They'll choose you. Without hesitation. Without conditions. Without you having to chase them down and convince them you're worthy of their time. Let's go deeper. Because this isn't just about them anymore. This is about everyone who's watching. Everyone who saw you stop chasing and felt something stir inside them. A whisper. A question. A tiny seed of doubt planted in the soil of their own relationships. They're looking at their friendships, their family dynamics, their romantic relationships, and they're starting to ask themselves the same questions you asked. Am I the only one trying here? Am I the only one who cares? If I stopped reaching out, would anyone notice? Would anyone come looking for me? And the more they watch you thrive in your solitude, the louder those questions get. You've become a mirror for everyone around you. And mirrors don't lie. They reflect. And what people are seeing in your reflection is uncomfortable. It's their own lack, their own imbalance, their own one-sided relationships, their own patterns of chasing people who don't chase them back. And instead of doing the hard work of addressing it, instead of having the difficult conversations, instead of setting boundaries and standards, and choosing themselves the way you chose yourself, they're getting defensive. They're getting angry. They're projecting. Because it's easier to blame you for changing than it is to admit they've been settling. Some of them are calling you cold, distant, different. They're saying you've changed, and they're right. You have changed. You stopped accepting crumbs. You stopped celebrating people who only remembered you existed when they needed something. You stopped making excuses for people who never made time. You stopped giving infinite chances to people who never gave you a first one. You stopped being available to everyone and started being intentional about who gets access to you. That's not cold. That's called self-preservation. That's called growth. That's called finally learning the difference between being alone and being lonely. Because here's the truth they don't want to accept. You were lonely when you were surrounded by people. You were lonely in group chats that only lit up when someone needed something. You were lonely in friendships where you were the only one asking questions. You were lonely in spaces where your presence was expected but your absence was never noticed. You were lonely because you were the only one showing up. The only one trying. The only one caring. And that kind of loneliness, the kind where you're surrounded by people but still completely unseen, that's the worst kind. So you chose solitude. Intentional, peaceful, powerful solitude. You chose to be alone on purpose instead of being lonely by accident. You chose to invest your energy into yourself instead of pouring it into people who treated it like garbage. You chose to build a life so full, so rich, so aligned that you didn't need anyone to validate it. And that choice, that radical act of self-love, is what's making them question everything. Because if you can be happy alone, if you can thrive without them, if you can build a beautiful life without chasing a single soul, then what have they been doing? What have they been sacrificing? What have they been settling for? They're realizing that they've spent years, maybe decades, performing, pretending, chasing people who don't care, staying in relationships out of fear, not love, holding on to friendships because of history, not connection, tolerating disrespect because they're terrified of being alone. And you, just by existing in your peace, just by refusing to play that game anymore, you've exposed the whole thing. You've pulled back the curtain. You've shown them that the emperor has no clothes, and they hate you for it. Not because you did anything to them, but because you did something for yourself. And that's a level of self-respect they've never experienced. Here's what's really happening beneath the surface. Every person who's questioning their existence because you stopped chasing is being forced to confront their deepest fear, that they're not actually as important as they think they are, that they're not irreplaceable, that their presence in someone's life isn't a gift, but a burden, that the people who stick around aren't staying because they love them, but because they're too kind, too patient, too forgiving to leave. And when you left, when you stopped chasing, when you stopped pretending like their bare minimum was something to be grateful for, you confirmed that fear. You proved that they were replaceable, that their absence didn't create a void. It created space. Space for better, space for peace, space for real love. And now they're spiraling. They're going through their phone, scrolling through old messages, looking at the ratio of sent to received. They're counting how many times they've reached out versus how many times someone reached out to them. They're analyzing their relationships under a microscope you handed them without saying a word. They're seeing patterns they've been ignoring for years, and it hurts. It's supposed to. Growth hurts. Awareness hurts. Realizing you've been the problem, or at least complicit in your own mistreatment, that hurts like nothing else. But pain is a teacher, and you just gave them a masterclass. Some of them will learn. Some of them will wake up. Some of them will look at what you did, how you moved, the boundaries you set, the standards you upheld, and they'll be inspired. They'll stop chasing, too. They'll start choosing themselves. They'll start demanding reciprocity. They'll start walking away from people and places and things that don't serve them. And when they do, they'll think of you. They'll remember that you showed them it was possible. That you were the first person in their life who modeled what it looks like to love yourself enough to let go. But most of them won't. Most of them will stay stuck. They'll keep chasing. They'll keep settling. They'll keep convincing themselves that this is just how relationships are, that everyone struggles, that it's normal to feel drained by the people you love. They'll watch you from a distance, scrolling through your life, looking for signs that you're struggling, that you're lonely, that you regret walking away. And when they don't find any, when all they see is someone who's genuinely happy, genuinely free, genuinely unbothered, they'll make up stories. They'll tell themselves you're faking it, that you're secretly miserable, that you're putting on a show, because the alternative, the truth, is too painful to accept. The truth is this: you don't need them. You never did. You thought you did. You convinced yourself that connection required compromise, that love required sacrifice, that being a good person meant tolerating bad behavior. But you were wrong. And the moment you realized that, the moment you understood that real love doesn't cost you your peace, your self-respect, your sanity, that's the moment you became dangerous. Dangerous to every fake friendship, every toxic relationship, every manipulative dynamic, because you stopped playing the game. You stopped following the rules. You stopped accepting the bare minimum as if it were a blessing. And now you're free. Free from the weight of one-sided relationships. Free from the exhaustion of constantly trying to prove your worth to people who were never going to see it. Free from the anxiety of wondering if you're too much or not enough. Free from the prison of other people's approval. And that freedom, that lightness, that peace, it's intoxicating.